Hello, people, and welcome back to the Outbound Podcast. We are now back with another episode, which is now 2 weeks in a row. So, progress from last year. How we doing, guys? Um,
Too
Colin,
bad,
Vanessa?
man. Not doing bad. Got a smile on
Yeah,
our
man.
face for the reason.
Yeah,
Not too bad
yeah.
myself. I'm okay. How you doing, Richard?
I can't complain. We recorded this around 9:15, so the Chelsea and Borough game is still going on, but we are winning 4-0, which we
Yeah,
are now
it's great
guaranteed
times.
to go Wembley. Hey. You cannot celebrate this, coach. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You've self-proclaimed yourself to be a Milan fan. Stay over at Italy, please. Don't come and celebrate this success with us.
You see how I'm getting exiled from my local club.
No,
You
you
You-
exile.
You
No,
weren't
you
there.
exile
You weren't
yourself.
there when we were. Nah, bro.
Yeah.
Listen, you weren't there when we were finishing 10, 11, 12. You were in Serie A, Sonny.
Yep. He left us and said, I'm not supporting Chelsea no more. I'm going to go and stick with my Milan boys with Giroud and Leao and Pulisic and Loftus-Cheek. So please,
Yeah, Chelsea
know what?
contingent, bro. I'm supporting the Chelsea contingent at Milan. Like, this is the
No, I'm
partnership.
sorry.
You know what I'm saying?
We don't do that. The train has left the station. Wembley, here we come. You are not invited on the train. But as you know, with what has been a very, very, very disappointing season for Chelsea standards again, we have somehow made it into a final. So the first question I'm just going to ask is, what does this final do? What make it to the final? What do you think this does for Chelsea season going forward?
You know what?
I feel like
Go on,
obviously
you go.
winning a trophy is always Chelsea standard. You know, in the last 20 years, obviously since Abramovich came in, in 2003, we've been a club which has always aspired to be winning trophies and competing for major honours. And obviously the Carabao Cup is a trophy that we haven't won in a while. I believe it's 9 years, 2015 under Mourinho. And at the end of the day, you can't avoid the glory of winning. Regardless if it's the Carabao Cup, you got to take it as it comes. And even though I feel like this season domestically in the league has been very disappointing, and obviously, I believe are we still in the FA Cup? I haven't really been focused on.
Yeah.
Are we still in it?
You see?
No, but I've watched FA Cup games.
This is what I'm talking about. Yeah, we whacked Preston. I was still in the FA Cup.
I'll admit, boldly, I'll be real. I disserted myself in Chelsea for a while now, but no one can ever question the days I support this club. That's another point.
It's easy to support us when we're lifting the Premier League.
How we say, bro? Huh?
It was easy to support us when we're lifting the Premier League. This is the time we need this support.
I won't deny that.
Exactly.
Okay,
well, as I said,
I'm shameless, bro. I won't deny that. But hey, I've seen Chelsea rise to glory from 2006 from the age of 6 years old. I've seen it. With Didier Drogba, I've seen it. I was there when we won the Champions League in 2012. I was there as a 12-year-old boy. I was there. I had the great moments.
I'll be
Chelsea
there
gave
too.
me some great moments of my life.
Were you there when we lost to United earlier this season?
Nah, I was there.
No, bro. I was there. I watched the game.
He wasn't. Continue your talk.
Yeah?
You were there on your screen. I was there in person. I was there at Old Trafford.
Manchester boy. Of course you'd be there.
That's irrelevant. I was there.
You're on Burnley, by the way.
Abbas, don't join Richard in this smoking. But anyways, come back to the comments I was saying before. Obviously Chelsea winning a trophy would obviously be good because obviously we haven't won a trophy for a few years now. Obviously 2021, obviously the last one, which was obviously the Club World Cup. But at the end of the day, Chelsea DNA, what we know Chelsea to be is winning trophies, right? We're not gonna say the Carabao Cup is obviously, a big trophy because it is regarded a big trophy officially in this country. It's not obviously what we want to be winning. Like it's not the creme de creme, but it's a start. We haven't been the top team that we've grown up to see Chelsea to be. So obviously, I think winning the Carabao Cup, if it will be a good start, it'll be nice. Kind of progression in a way. Obviously, be Posh's first trophy in England, so that's nice for him. Good for his confidence, and it's a confidence builder because when you start winning, you know that okay, we can actually compete. We want to win more. We like the Carabao Cup. We want more trophies. So it will inspire these players to kind of have that hunger to win more. Do you know what I'm saying? And obviously, it will give Poch more confidence in that aspect. But overall, it won't make Chelsea season a great season. You can't say that Chelsea, at the end of the day, will have a great season just to win the Carabao Cup. No. Chelsea's season depends on qualifying Europe, whether it's Champions League or Europa League. Now, for me, I have high aspirations. That's how I've always been with Chelsea. That's how I always will be. Yeah, for me, I would never say Chelsea will have a great season unless we get the Champions League. It seems very unlikely this season. So for me, apart from that, this season's a write-off. This season will be anything but average. If Chelsea
Yeah.
can even get Europa League, it'll be average. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a damn. It'll be average. So in my opinion, if even Chelsea win the Carabao Cup, it's not a success. It's not a successful season. Yeah, it's nice. It'll build confidence. It's good to win a trophy. We can have a nice celebration on a Sunday. Yay! But by Tuesday morning, give 40 hours, everyone should forget about it. And we should just the seriousness that we have within our team, the problems, the issues, the things that which is constantly kind of bringing Chelsea into disarray. That's the things we need to address.
Yeah.
Come the end of the season, and how we're going to get Chelsea back to where they should be, which is competing for the Premier League title, which is eventually being back in the Champions League and getting out of the group stage and actually being a team which is serious. That's what makes Chelsea a great club, and that's what we deemed a good season, not a Carabao Cup, but it's progress if we do win it.
I mean, I kind of agree with the point you said. As I said, at the end of the day, it's not even the FA Cup, it's a Carabao Cup. I think what this trophy would do for us, I think, is more of a historic base type of trophy in terms of Chelsea. I think since the Roman era, Chelsea haven't gone 2 years without winning a trophy. And because we did win one last year, we don't win one this year, then it will then be like the first time, as I said, since Roman era, we've now gone 2 years without winning it. It's also a thing you can then look back in like 5 years, 5-10 years time to be like, okay, in this year Chelsea won it, this and that. But again, in terms of our season, as you mentioned, I don't think it does anything for us because, and the reason I brought up the United game earlier was because even though Chelsea was shit before then, I still had hopes for the season. Since that lost, all my hopes for the season just died. And as you mentioned, you said it before.
Go on, carry on. Sorry.
Unless Chelsea get into the Champions League, you won't see it as a successful season. At the end of the day, and it might be a bit ignorant for me to say this because of the way I've grown up watching Chelsea win Premier Leagues and obviously 2 Champions League, but now is a point where it's in because of all the success I've seen, even top 4 isn't a successful season unless you win unless you challenge for the Premier League or you challenge or you win the Champions League. Is never successful in my eyes for Chelsea. So, as I said, it's a competition when you reach the final. If you don't win it, you feel a bit, because I remember last 2 years ago under Tuchel when we lost on penalties, and that seemed very infuriating, knowing you were just there and you missed out the chance to win the trophy. But in hindsight, as I said, the Carabao Cup doesn't do much for you. Like at least the FA Cup has that prestigious of something. I mean, how many times has it's gone from Capital One Cup to League Cup to Carabao Cup? Like they just keep changing it. So I agree. Now we're in the final. I'll be fully focused, and for the full 90 minutes, I would support my hardest from like behind my TV screen. But I won't think like, oh, okay, if we win this, now our season has changed on the match. Yeah.
You know what?
I get tickets to watch that shit.
I might be in the opposite where I think if we win this, it's somewhat of a success for Chelsea Football Club because, and I think you guys are selling what we're doing right now a bit short. Last 11 games, so I always say this, a top team, the first priority for me is secure home base. Be a very good team at home or building towards it. That's set your foundation. Your foundation is always home. Chelsea have 1 loss in the last 11 home games across all competitions. Regardless of the opposition, they're making home a tricky place for teams to come into. So that's the first thing. Secondly, getting into the final is one thing. Winning it is another. But if Chelsea win it, I always say this, the amount of players that we've got right now haven't tasted victory in Chelsea blue. Outside of a few that was there when Tuchel won the Champions League, the rest have never won a trophy with Chelsea. So it's a new feeling for them. But it's also a feeling that where they can look back and like, oh, wait, so we were able to be consistent in a certain period of time when we needed to be to win the trophy. And that's another thing. I'm probably third. You guys are saying like top 4, top this, right? I think City will do well in the UCL. I think Arsenal will do well in the Champions League as well, or somewhat. That allows that 5th position to be open. It's 9 points. It's the second half of the season. You continue to build at home, you're still going to drop points everywhere you go. There's a potential to drop points in any game, of course. But the main thing is if you can somewhat instill some form of fear factor that, oh, wait, let's say Brentford, for example, they're coming to Chelsea. It's not like Chelsea of last year where you can roll them over. They're coming to Stamford Bridge. that adds more to it. And then you can start picking up points when others in front of you drop points. I always say this, the league position right now, it doesn't really highlight Chelsea Football Club. I think we're better than our league position overall in general.
Sure.
And I think we can progress further. But I think also, another last point on it is it keeps Poch in the job. I've always said this, for as long as he was in the League Cup, he has his job. The second he drops out potentially of the League Cup, he's out of the job. But what helps him now is if he loses a final, but going up to the final, he's won 3 out of 4 games in the league, and he's still in the FA Cup. He's securing the job as well. And I think that's what you need in that consistency. And funny enough, you guys mentioned about winning first trophies and stuff. Roman's first trophy, if I'm not wrong, was the League Cup. Todd Bowley's first trophy potentially could also be the League Cup. So there's a mirror image of what the start of success is. And that's why, like, for me, I think it's a big thing that Chelsea are in the final, and it can potentially make the season successful. We're in a different era.
You make a good point, Abbas, which I don't really dispute most of your claims. But just to kind of reiterate, being Richard, we're not against Chelsea winning the Carabao Cup. We're just saying that overall, if Chelsea don't get European football this season, which is either Europa League, I don't care about Conference League, Europa League as a minimum, then I won't see this season being a successful season for Chelsea.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's what I'm just saying.
I think Chelsea
progress.
Yeah, that's the point. My point is Chelsea definitely can still get Europa League. Like, that's not out of the question, because it's it's 9 points between here and top 5. Sorry, being Tottenham, and I think that City and Arsenal will progress further enough for us to get the coefficiency rank to get that 5th spot. So I'm not even ruling out Champions League at this point of view. What I just need from Chelsea Football Club really is to continue the home form, and then in games where we drop away games in terms of lesser teams, go there with just the same way Bournemouth got beat by Liverpool 4-0 is what we need to do against teams of a quality of Bournemouth and win away, because I think that's where Chelsea now for the second half of the season or in 2024 need to strengthen out. Because at home, I'm sitting here and say I'm pretty confident we get results as in wins against the lesser, and then draws and potential wins against the top teams, which we weren't going last year.
No, obviously I agree with that standpoint, but I said it's just a bit sad how far we've, because as I said, Chelsea Football Club talking about like getting Europa League and stuff like that. Like, obviously,
this is why I became part-time. Like,
you're no time. You're unemployed. You're unemployed. You've been let go. You've been made redundant by Chelsea FC. Go and become full-time at Milan, please. We don't want all this stuff.
I'm going to report this to the. I'm going to report this to the FA.
Roger, you are a full-time Chelsea podcaster, but you're redundant as a fan.
Correct.
Podcaster, no, mate.
Because I like to talk Chelsea because what's going on? It appalls me to see how we dropped our levels and to see.
Stop saying we.
Has gone up the club.
Stop saying we.
Yeah, please.
We're all Chelsea fans by birth.
No, we're not. Obviously, speaking of like,
they know the fans. They always have the receipts.
I chose to stay here through these tough times. You chose to leave for Milan, but obviously, speaking from the Italian league, because obviously we know Onana came from the other side of Milan.
The other side,
the other side of Milan. And obviously he's been in the, I won't call it newspaper because like nobody reads that no more. But he's been on social media of like for the bunch of series events. So obviously we all know a couple of weeks ago while everyone was going to join up with their country to prepare for AFCON, this guy thought it was suitable for him to stay over and try and play the FA Cup game and the Tottenham game, in which he didn't make an error, but the save looked funny. He eventually joins up. His plane gets delayed. He had to take bus, TFL, the private jet stuff, and then he gets benched for the first game. He plays the second game and he has Baker character syndrome, where he's coming to turn attacker, how to take an attacking free kick. And then he concedes like 3 goals with the worst lash movement I've seen from a goalkeeper. And then all of a sudden he's benched for the final game, of which Cameroon won today and they went through, I believe. So what do you guys make of this whole Onana situation? And do you feel like he should be benched for the rest of the competition, given how from the outside, he's disrespected his country.
Can I take this one quickly? I
Go on,
know
go on.
I'm not African, but so listen, you know me, I'm not the biggest Mo Salah guy, yeah. But I saw a lot of rubbish online that Mo Salah doesn't care for Egypt. This guy, he's injured, but he's going back to Liverpool. He don't care for the team. Nah, he went to if he's going back to Liverpool, it's to rehabilitate to get back for AFCON. Like he doesn't have to go to AFCON if he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
Onana stinks. Everything about this just stinks. There's nothing more to say about it. You have done without doing a press release what Lukaku did, where you alienate yourself. You're not the biggest fan favorite at Man United at this moment because you made mistake after mistake to basically knock them out of the Champions League.
Yep.
You then have the chance to be somewhat of a hero with your national team. I always say this: national pride should always come before club. Actually, no, I don't always say it. That's a lie. Sorry, retract that. But I do believe.
Why not?
Just because your nationality is what you're born into. Screw it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. You're stuck with it, though. But I do believe certain nations, you have a bit more pride on them. Onana, when you look at AFCON and the prestige of it, it's like, imagine, for example, an England player saying, nah, I don't want to go Euros yet. Let me just play this game out first. That's just not going to happen. So for you to say that,
as well.
Yeah.
I think what he did is worse than saying I don't want to play for the Euros, because what he kind of did is kind of like, I'm bigger than the country, I'm the main man here, because it's one thing saying you're not going to Euro, another thing saying I want to play this competition, but I'm going to come at my own time, and I think that's even worse. Because
you're right, because it's that thing that we talked about where you have certain African players who play in Europe who have that ego that they, because I play for Man United, because I could just put myself in. And now, if I'm Cameroon, I'm like, yo, okay, we progressed. We might have conceded 2 goals, and it was close right at the end. Obviously, my guy handballed it, but
it was Maradona.
Yeah, but at the same time, why speak to Onana and say to him, no, like, you don't deserve a spot. We're gonna keep running with this. Whatever happens, happens. And then when he goes back to Man United, this guy's gonna go back to a team where he's got hardly any confidence, and then have to fill in that number 1 spot again and have more stinkfest, because I just don't understand what was going through his head. Nobody's held you back. It's not like Ten Hag has ever said to you, like, you see the under like 20s, under 21 tournaments, you have players or coaches that will say to a player, don't go. Just stay. Like Garnacho, for example, I think it was the World Cup or whatever for Argentina. I think Ten Hag said to him, no, you're not going, staying with us pre-season, whatever. Nobody has said to you, do not go. They have given you a blessing. You've taken it upon yourself to not do it. You stick it up against Spurs. You concede 2 there. Then you go back. You screw it up somehow, somewhere, because that will always happen. You don't deserve to play for Cameroon like that. Just stay on the bench and let them thrive. Or even if they fail, let them fail. But you have had a stinker.
Yeah. Cole, do you have anything to say on it, or should I?
And I love it, by the way. Let me just put it out there. I love it.
I have nothing really saying on our situation.
As I said, I agree, and it's just like a follow-up, because remember, was it in the World Cup? Was it World Cup where I don't know if it was the same coach as in China. I showed them researching it, but in the World Cup when he was dropped because of he wants to play at the back and the manager didn't want it, and everybody was supporting Onana because, like, obviously you're playing for one of the top clubs in Europe. That how can you then bring a goalkeeper and tell him to change the style and stuff? But as I said before, I think this is really just, as I said, it's funny from the outside, but when you really deep into it, it's kind of what we were saying last week in terms of giving AFCON a bit more respect, because nobody in the Euros, obviously the Euros and World Cup will be different because that's played during summer and all club football stops, but no other African, like Nicholas Jackson isn't doing this, Sadio Mane isn't doing this, Salah isn't doing this, and blah, blah, and all of a sudden you get a big contract for Man United and you think, oh, Cole Palmer scores again, and you think you're bigger than the country. So I don't think he should play again. I don't think he should be able to play again for the rest of the competition. In fact, I think he should be told to stay home. And the audacity to think he could turn up on the game day and think he will start as well is embarrassing. But we'll see how it unfolds if he starts the next game, because, as I said, he's been dropped for 2 out of the 3 AFCON games, and the one he wasn't dropped for, he absolutely stunk it up. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, just moving on to the final section, basketball, because we had 2 big. In fact, I'm not even going to count this as big performance, because Karl Anthony Towns, he is the only person I know that can drop 63 points and still look like a loser while doing it, because he's single-handedly, like I would say single-handedly, but he cost his team that game trying to go for the record. I don't know if it was attempting for the record, but in the second half, he shut them out of the game, and that's why he was benched in crunch time when you have 63 points. But the bigger story is Joel Embiid, who dropped 70 points in a win, 21 free throws, which means it was 49 in open. Well, I was going to say open play, but it's not football. An open court.
Mm-hmm.
Did this game
Yeah,
show you
it's
anything
inventive.
new?
Open court.
Yeah. Did this
Richard
game show
creating
you
new
anything
NBA
about?
terminology.
Yeah, Adam Silver. You know where to find me. I can rewrite the rule book. Yeah, but did this Embiid performance yesterday teach you anything about Embiid? I'll start with you, Kojo.
He didn't teach me nothing new about him personally. Look, for me, I always will say, wow, that is an amazing stat. To join the Summit Club, you know, that's a big, big achievement. Even though it was against the worst team in the Western Conference, the San Antonio Spurs, but at the end of the day, the fact that you got 70 points, your team is a winning team, further Western Conference, notching the 29th win of the season. You're playing like an MVP candidate again after winning the MVP last year. So I feel like for me, I think Embiid is I think it didn't teach me nothing new, but it just showed me that Embiid is a quality basketball player. I think the only thing which is missing for everyone to really say, like, you know what, he's legit the best player in the world, is if he can transfer what he's doing in the regular season into the playoffs. That's where we're all going to universally agree as basketball fans that Embiid is arguably the legit best player in the world. Because obviously right now, when we say he's the best player in the world, most of us are going to say either Nikola Jokic or Giannis Antetokounmpo, or maybe potentially, just for nostalgia, LeBron James, as you would say, Richard, you know what I'm saying? But really and truly, what you say?
I say he's the GOAT. I don't think he's the best player anymore, but that's not the conversation. But yeah.
You want to throw that title to LeBron? Fair enough, cool. We'll get back to another time. But obviously, with Joel Embiid right now, obviously, the fact that he's probably going to win back-to-back MVP honors again, he's leading his team to another playoff route. Obviously, the big goal for him, realistically, is to kind of go far in the playoffs. And I think do your best to make the conference finals, because obviously Philly haven't made the conference finals, I believe, since 2000. I think maybe 2001 when they last got to the NBA conference finals, and obviously they got to the finals with Allen Iverson and whatnot. So I think that's the big aim for Embiid. So obviously, congrats to him yesterday. Hell of a performance. Did his thing, create history, especially on Kobe night as well. They, obviously Karl Anthony Towns got 63 points. That's a big achievement as well, because for a center to do that in this modern day era, you always got to give a round of applause. So the fact that we saw two centers on Kobe's anniversary of his historic A1 performance, kind of go nuts and put up big numbers. I think it was a great testament to how far the NBA centers have come in recent years. So yeah, but with Embiid, again, I think what he needs to do next for everyone to kind of say he is the best player in the world, which I think is the case, to show, because obviously I think skill-wise he's definitely up there. His numbers in the regular season definitely attest to that, but obviously there's a big drop-off when it comes to the postseason. And I think I'm hoping that this season can be the year where he shows everyone that I am the guy. And maybe it's not really to do with Philadelphia where they get to in the postseason. I think if he can show everyone that, you know what, I'm putting up the numbers. Because sometimes, look, you can get, I don't know, Philly, they're third right now. If they stay third, they'll probably face, right now, I think the sixth seed is, Indiana. They'll probably beat Indiana. And I believe they'll face a second seed if they get through the second round, which would be Milwaukee. Now, obviously, I probably put Milwaukee on paper ahead of them. So if you get knocked up by Milwaukee, look, you can say, you know what, fair enough, they got beat by the better team, which we all can agree on, most of us anyways, right? So even if you get knocked out in the second round, it's how great does Embiid play in that time, in that series? How good is he from taking his team almost to the edge of games of finals? That's the thing we're going to really judge. Because I feel like it's not necessarily about Philadelphia getting through to the conference finals against the NBA finals or winning the championship. It's Embiid's performance, because we can all agree that throughout his career in the postseason, Embiid has looked the shadow of himself in the regular season. So if he can take a stride this season to be the guy and have a really good playoff run, individually, most importantly, and obviously team success, will glorify Embiid to being a reasonable candidate for the best player in the world, legitly. Then I feel that's what's going to kind of set Embiid's career apart.
Do you know what? As for the performance first, just on it, like, do you know what? Fair enough. Like, we were saying before, and I kind of was probably a bit harsh saying that, look, people score so much that does it really matter? What I meant by that was that, look, it's an accomplishment, but in the totality of things, what does it mean? It's a high scoring game. To your point about postseason, I agree that going forward, it's not necessarily a case of, okay, what do you do in regular season? Because you got your rewards last year. You, after years where you've been snubbed, potentially, you got your MVP. But at the same time, when you're saying, oh, they could potentially play Milwaukee in the second round, if they potentially play them, they have to beat them. Because at the end of the day, all you're going to be known for is, you're that Neely center. You're not really there for me type of guy. Like, even if he puts up the numbers, you got to find a way to drag that team by hook, by crook, whatever it is. You have to find a way. Just the same way Kawhi Leonard dragged Toronto to win that chip. You have to find a way to drag them to a position they've not been into. Whether that is you having the ball significantly, and when I mean having the ball, I mean like most possessions. Whether that is you putting up 50 a night, whatever it is, you have to find a way to beat a potentially more superior team than you in terms of the total basis of it. Like, Philly aren't a poor team.
Yeah.
But what stops Philly is when it's year on year, we're like, semi-finals, that's their ceiling. Crack the ceiling, go through it, because if you don't, that's what you're going to be remembered for. Like, yes, you'll have your MVP. Yes, you'll have your All-NBA titles and All-Star appearances, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, if you can't even make a conference finals, we're going to look at you like, okay, whatever. It's you were good, but you weren't great. And I think that's where Embiid needs to go. Like, it can't be an excuse that he was playing against a superior team, because it's not like the Philadelphia 76ers are a poor team.
Yeah, and I agree with you and I think it's the thing whereas I think 70 points is great to have, but I think two things to look at here is obviously in the modern NBA, I feel like because Donovan Mitchell adjusted it last season, I think Damian Lillard did it as well. Was it last season as well? Or recently?
6 years ago.
Yeah, my point is this 70
and
seems
Booker's
like
Booker done it as well in his, I think, second season.
Yeah, but that was a long time ago. But my point is 70 seems like the new.
Still within the recent.
Yeah, so but 70 seems like the new 50, and I think is another thing of Embiid has disappointed so much in the playoffs that we can't really appreciate his regular season anymore, because it's like, you've done this before, show us something new. And I think I'll always be an Embiid over Jokic. Even though I think Jokic is better, I think I'll always just support Embiid over Jokic more just because of that personality, and I'm a fan of his playing style as well. But then, as Abbas said, we can't use the whole thing of he lost a superior team, because now Embiid is now looked at as one of the top 5 players in the NBA. And when you're that top 5, even if a team is slightly better, you should be able to perform to the point whereas you're the best player on the court. You eliminate a Giannis, you eliminate Tatum and all these guys. You can't just keep getting, and then your points drop by 10 points a game and then you get eliminated. And there's a thing where we start blaming injuries, even though the injuries things is valid, but you start blaming injuries and the teams you come up against. So, as I said,
the question is though,
yeah.
Sorry, Richard, I do apologize because I'm not a fan of interruptions, and I'll make a statement. This will be the last time I interrupt you when you.
Ask your question.
Yeah. But the thing is, you say that regarding the question regarding like, oh, you can't just keep blaming the team. But if you look at it in a way, players that have taken their teams or the threshold when the team's been mediocre, if you're really honest, it's just LeBron James, like in recent memory, if you really think about it.
No, because
and LeBron James is regarded to you guys as the GOAT, and he's in the GOAT conversation. So, because the B is not there,
it's not a team. You can't be a top 4 rated
I'm not saying
team.
Philly are not a terrible team, but I'm saying it's like, if you look at it, like Philadelphia, even with Embiid playing very, very well, we also have a question.
That's why you're wrong.
It's a narrative.
That's why you're wrong. Because
tell me that you
what finish?
Tell me.
Because the thing is that Embiid, if you just look at the whole thing, it's not like Embiid has just been losing to elite team. If you go back, they've been knocked out to the Heat couple seasons back.
2 seasons ago, they lost to the Heat. 2 seasons ago, yeah.
Yeah, they lost to the Heat 2 seasons, which was embarrassing. Considering what they
Yeah.
had. You look at the Hawks series,
Yeah.
losing to the Hawks as well. That's embarrassing. So that's two off the
Yeah.
top of my head.
But was
No.
the question is the question. Listen, guys, please. Was that primarily the fault of Joel Embiid that the Philadelphia
It
76ers
don't
got
matter,
beat
bro.
those
It don't.
If Embiid, I think if Embiid did his job, then they go through. I think, especially the Heat one. I think the Heat one he was embarrassing. The Hawks one, obviously, you can argue the whole thing with what Ben Simmons did and everything, but at
and
that
Doc
point,
Rivers as well. The coach of Doc Rivers as well. That was a big
yeah, but
downfall.
at the same time, yeah, but at the same time,
Yeah.
we're talking about. If I'm correct, the Hawks were the 8th seed. Am I correct?
They were.
So
They got for the
yeah,
playoffs.
so
Correct.
losing to a seed like that, it takes more than coaching. It's like your coaching
Well,
is
no, it's
if you don't
coaching, and
go
you
the
got a
like
player which didn't want to shoot the ball. Ben Simmons.
that was one play. I'm not basing
Bro, he
the
was terrible for 2 games, and he went to game 7.
so, but I'm saying the player that Embiid is, I think universally he looks at as one of the top 5 players in the league. And even at that point, even though he wasn't top 5 against in the Hawks series, he was a top 10 player in the league. I think with the team that Philly had, he should be able to take them over that series. And they lost in, was it 6 games? Or did it go 7?
No, it went to game 7. They lost the
Went
game
to
7 at
game-
home.
Yeah, and then when you look last season as well, you had 2 games to close out. He didn't play well in any of the closeout games as well. So
Yes.
I've just named like 3 series that I feel
So
like
did
if
James
Embiid-
Harden. He didn't play well as well.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
we know about
but
James.
you know who James Harden is.
Wasn't Abbas? I can remember. Yeah, I think it was Abbas or Richard. Yeah, but maybe Richard as well. I remember. Yeah, I remember that when Philadelphia lost to the Boston Celtics in that game 7, wasn't one of you guys calling for Doc Rivers to be fired for his horror
Yep.
show of coaching during that series?
Yep.
But this is
Yep.
the thing. What you realize is, I've always
2
run this.
things can be true,
Am
by
I
the
wrong,
way.
Abbas? Am I wrong?
2 things can be true, by the way.
Hey, but you got to realize something. I've always run an agenda against Doc Rivers. I call him the most overrated, hyped coach in the NBA. I've always said that.
But
Yes,
Can I say
in the-
something as well?
but do you make
But can
those
I say
claims for
something as
banter,
well?
or do you have a genuine basketball reason for that?
No, but can I
Yes.
say something as well?
Please go.
Doc Rivers might be the reason why the Philadelphia 76 didn't win the series against Boston. Doc Rivers has nothing to do why Joel Embiid played so crap. And that's why
Oh
I said
no, I agree. I definitely. But what I'm saying is
and
that
2 things can be true because sometimes, like, you need your, like, you've seen the time and time in basketball when you talk about the greats with LeBron, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry. Sometimes you just need your superstars to save you when you don't know what you're doing. And in situations when Doc Rivers is putting in that poor coach performance, if you're the superstar that Embiid is, sometimes just save him, like, please, because as I said, when he plays as bad as he did, Doc Rivers could not do any coaching job to get the Boston Celtics get Celtics over that series anyways if his superstars playing the way he's playing. So I do believe Doc Rivers lost them the series, but I think if Doc Rivers did a good coaching job, if Embiid plays the way he's playing, the results are still the same, or Boston Celtics still win that series, and that's the point I'm trying to put across in terms of.
Fair
And I
enough,
love Joel
but
Embiid.
what I'm saying is that, and I do agree because I've lamented those points during my initial, monologue. Do you know what I'm saying? I've lamented those points. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm not disputing, but I'm just saying that we need to open our perspective here. I'm saying that if Embiid has a great playoff run, statistically, because the numbers he puts, do you know what I'm saying? If he improves and actually plays the same way he's been playing in the regular season, but Philadelphia comes short. Because for me, even when I was at Philadelphia,
let me just mention something.
Squad-wise, I
You
don't
know,
think they're the best team in the East.
Listen. You know James Harden back in the Houston days, he would put up insane numbers in the playoffs. But you know what would happen? They'd lose, and then people would say it is James Harden's fault because he can't get them over the line in some playoff series. And I'll be honest, I was one of them that said because of his ball usage, because what he has to do over X amount of games, he gets tired. Joel Embiid has less to do in terms of bringing the ball up the court or anything of that nature to be tired. It is on him at this moment in time to not go to the NBA championship. But if you want people to look at you and not just be a regular season merchant, you have to push Philly to a point that they haven't been in a long time, and that we can be like, that's fine. Look at Milwaukee when they won the chip. I'm sorry, nobody turned around and said Milwaukee at the start of the season were winning the ring, but Giannis found a way to do it.
Yeah.
Why can't you not?
No, I agree.
And I remember the conversation about Giannis as well when he got bounced against when Kawhi stole his chain, and then obviously he gets, I think, was it swept or he got bounced in the bubble as well. Remember the conversation when he won back-to-back MVP and they're like, you know what, Giannis can do this, blah blah blah, and then he finally goes and he goes to get that ring. So I think that is what Embiid needs to do to gain people's respect again.
I do agree with you guys. I do think for me, for us for university to recognize Joel Embiid as the best player in the world, you know what I'm saying? In terms of skill set, he's definitely amongst that conversation. I do agree that he needs to kind of take the Philadelphia 76ers to a good player run. But what I'm saying, in my personal opinion as well, is that for me, if he can have a good player run this year, I think that kind of propels, the idea of him being generally the best player in the world to a good extent, in my opinion. Because I feel like for
it
me,
also depends.
We're seeing improvement here.
Yeah, because it also depends because I said other people in the conversation is Giannis. Like if he plays well and the other two play well and they go further than him, remember what he does. He's not overtaking nobody. So as I said, it depends on what the others do as well. So, but I said we'll see what happens. As I said, 70 points is no small feat. As I said, it's a major achievement to be able to score 70 points in the game. It's just I don't think it will get appreciated the way it does because of his playoff stinkers, and that's just the harsh reality of the situation. So, yeah, but we'll see what happens in the NBA. I do think that performance does probably put him back in the lead for the MVP race. As long as he plays 65 games, he will probably go back to back, which is fine. I think he should be 2 times anyway. So I'm supporting my boy Embiid. But yeah, that is.
I agree. He should be 2 times anyway by now because obviously he got robbed the previous year.
Yeah. Fuck Jokic. But yeah, that is all we do have time for today. And don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms at outbound_UK on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. And we'll be back next week with another episode. So thank you for tuning in, and until next time, safe.